shout out to everybody who received their GCSE and A-level results over the last couple of weeks. You guys know anyone who was receiving those?
No.
Cool. Well, we got record passes and top grades all across England, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
They're just giving grades out.
Top grades, 7As and above, rose to 28.9% from 26% last year.
Gas.
While grades 4, Cs and above, seen as passes, rose to 77.1% from 76%.
Gas.
So year on year, we are seeing these results rise. In the case of the A level, there was a little bit more contention, and the reason why overall the grades conversation you may have heard is hotting up is because there is a belief, because of what happened during the pandemic, where the marking of exams went down to essentially teachers grading their students, that there is unfortunately a cheapening, I guess you could say, of the overall value of these A-level grades as people are transitioning or moving on to higher education. I want to start by saying congratulations to everybody who has worked hard through this pandemic over the last 18 months. It's been super, super difficult having to transition from in-person teaching to virtual teaching, sparing a thought out to those people who were disadvantaged as well, because, you know, for all of us who have got laptops and iPads and all of that stuff at home, spare a thought for the people who had to make this change and pivot to this craziness, not having the means to do that privately with their own computers and stuff at home. So it's a little bit sad to hear people's grades and stuff like that being discredited in the way they are, given the context that we've been in. But what do you guys think? Do you think that we should be worried about where grades are going at the moment? Do you think that this is all just becoming a little bit of a ruse to make our overall academic success seem a lot higher than it is in comparison to our neighboring countries? What do you think?
I saw a headline that said something like 48% of students achieved like A or A stars or something like that, which is like on the face
Surely
of it,
that
a madness, yeah. And it kind of
defeats
like
the purpose.
and that's where I'm going with the whole thing, right? Defeats if everyone's like getting passing grade. I mean, the thing is, ultimately, you can't be begrudging people doing well, right?
Yeah.
But I think part of the reason that you take exams and stuff is to create some level of differentiation between students, right?
Yeah.
So then, if 50% of your student base, or what was the stat? Let's go with the stat you said. You said 25% achieved what? A or A stars.
Yeah, exactly.
So going off that stat, right? If you're let's assume all these kids want to go to university, and if you're a kind of a more elite university, how are you then going to start differentiating between students who all have A stars or all have A's, right? And it can't just be off the strength of a personal statement, right?
Yeah.
It's 500 words on why you want to come here or some bullshit like this, and your grades, right? And then that's when you start hearing these horror stories of, oh, my daughter, my son, my brother, whatever, got 11 A stars and got rejected from 5 universities, right? It's because if everyone's getting the same grades, then we need to find a new way of differentiating, right? Between students, and that's the only place that I think it's potentially hazardous. Apart from that, though, fucking great work for everyone else, right? Put it on the CV, move on. Because ultimately, it's just a game, right? It's a game of life. Try to get the best marks you can. Go to the next exam, get the best marks you can. A levels, GCSE, A levels, uni, and just keep like accumulating these brands on your CV, I guess.
I think we should. I really like the model of education that they have in the Hunger Games, where you actually just make children fight each other for survival.
Have you seen that Japanese one of that? I can't remember what it's called now.
Takeshi's Castle.
No. No, it's like the original Hunger Games where they sent to the island,
famous book.
and they're all given different weapons. They're all given one weapon each that's drawn at random.
Battle Royale.
Battle Royale.
Yeah.
So that's what you're alluding to.
That's an education system that I'm a lot more
you can subscribe to.
aligned with. Yeah, I mean, like fundamentally, who gives a shit about osmosis unless you're going to become a doctor?
Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah, what you find out later in life is it's much more useful to know how to nank ops and bang man in the face than it is the subjunctive tense in French. It's a useless skill.
Agreed.
I think, look, for all these kids who are really worried about their exams and feel the pressure of maintaining their grades, etc., etc. I failed my exams, and I fucking hate my life. So you should be terrified of not getting good results because it leaves you in a really fucked position later on in life. I think the only genuine incentive to do well at school is to not getting beaten up by your parents.
Yeah.
So, you know, if
that threat doesn't exist anymore.
well, I don't know if your dad
Maybe when we were growing up.
Well, this is the thing. If your dad's large and foreign, then yeah, probably
No, but I'm saying
there's a
today,
risk. Yeah,
today's woke culture.
yeah. I don't know.
I don't think parents can beat children.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that to.
Right.
Certainly not Latino dads. Anyway, I don't think they're going to listen to
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
And
Back in our day,
Nigerian.
I think. This is what I'm saying.
You're taking me to social services.
For what?
Let them take you.
Literally. You will be back, oh.
You will be back, oh.
I've got a warped view. Just seeking serious. I've got a warped
Our
view. of this whole-
anti-education correspondent, Johnny Vivas, has entered the chat.
You are- listen,
One quick thing that we should mention is we should give a shout out to the Education Secretary Gavin Williamson. Big
Yes.
shout out to my G because he couldn't remember what he got in his A level. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't see that.
He got exposed. He was doing an LBC thing, yeah, and they were like, "Yeah, all right. So what was your A levels?" And he was like, "I can't remember."
How old is he?
He's not that old, but everyone remembers their A
Everyone
levels.
of course.
remembers their
So
A-level
he was
results.
chatting shit. He just basically
Everyone
didn't want to
remembers their
say
A-level
what he
results.
got because obviously it'll lead to
Shit.
further questions of how did you get 3 C's and get into Oxford or whatever, right? So like I don't know if that's where he went. I'm
Probably.
just assuming.
Safe
but,
bet.
But yeah, so he dodged that. So shout out to everyone who's going to be dodging them kind of questions.
Shout out as typical. This is Tommy's weekly shout out to the Conservative Party section, but. I have a very warped view of this whole education shtick for obvious reasons.
Go on.
I did flop my A levels. I didn't get into university.
What's a flop? What did you get?
I got a B in business studies.
I did that, yeah.
For which my bar mitzvah was revoked. I got a B in history, which is also quite ridiculous.
Wait, is this a flop?
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to be given
wait.
back, by the way. If your bar mitzvah's been revoked,
Yeah.
But hang on, he just said 2 Bs and apparently he flopped. Carry on.
I got a C in French, which is a language I speak fluently.
Okay.
So yeah, I didn't get into any of the universities I wanted to. I remember
Wait.
BBC is not a flop,
Wait,
bro.
I don't know what you're talking about, Johnny.
Yeah,
Like,
BBC is
BBC is
not a
not a flop.
Yeah, and when you're as naturally gifted as I am, it's
Well,
not great, right?
clearly not. But anyway.
evidently.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember calling up Cardiff University through clearing and like speaking to the French professor and like having literally.
Is that what you wanted to do, French?
At that point, I was going to do anything. I thought I was going to get fucking slapped by my mum, bro. So I would have taken any fucking course. I would have done Latin or some shit. Fuck knows. And I remember speaking to her on the phone in French, being like, "Listen, I know I've clearly flopped the exams, but you can tell I speak French." She was like, "Well, look, you got to see on the piece of paper. I can't help you." So I was like, "Haram, haram, haram, haram." Yeah,
Even through clearing.
yeah. I didn't get anywhere through clearing.
Yikes.
Didn't get anywhere.
You obviously
through
weren't
clearing.
doing it right because 2 B's and a C, you'll get into 50% of unis in the country.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I did always say, like, if I didn't get anywhere decent, I wasn't going to go.
But what's
I didn't want to go.
decent? You'll get into a top 20 university.
No,
with
I didn't
BBC.
get into any top
You
20
go
university.
to York.
That's
bro.
crazy, bro.
Yeah, I didn't get into any of them. So anyway, so then I was like, do I redo my A levels? Do I do it? I was like, I fucking hated education. I was kicked out of school. Ended up back in Hackney College. Fucking hated it. Hated education. I was just fucking pointless. So my mum got me a job at Hackney Community College, and then it's a very long story, but I spilled my way into a job at Bloomberg at 18. But although most people won't have the experience that I had, being very lucky to get a job at a major global corporation at the age of 18, the people who I know who are actually doing the best with themselves from Stoke Newington, from Hackney, from Clapton, the people who left school at 16 or who left school at 18 and went and got a job early.
What's that? What do they do?
Well,
When
they
you say
pay-
got a job early, what kind of things do they do?
So they're either working on site or they started off, for example, in accountancy jobs, working as apprentices, and then working their way up through the
like
corporate
professional
route.
qualifications.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to like uni.
As opposed to going to university, right? And so that route not only instills a work ethic, which I think that you are late coming to if you go and get on the session for 3 years.
For sure.
But it gives you a better understanding of the value of money. It gives you more impetus to move out, to be more independent, because your necessity to earn and your understanding of the job market has a 3-year head start on all of your peers who go and basically go on the piss and catch venereal diseases at Imperial for 3 years.
Don't know.
Guilty. I'm a big believer in apprenticeships and a big believer in, if you don't like studying and you don't like going to school, don't go to university.
There's
go
a
and get a
snobbery.
job.
There's a snobbery though, right? That exists across most of the attractive industries that most graduates want to go into, finance, etc., etc. They start at the degree, ultimately, and then they look at the university. When do you think we're going to get to a
Do
point
you think
where...
they start there? I think they'd start the opposite way around. They look at the university, then they look at the
Well, yeah. However, which way you want to look at it, but they,
exactly.
they
That's
100.
what I'm
But that's my point, right? They still look at the university degree as being a benchmark to even open up conversations. I interview people at work, and even though I don't do the first round stuff and I don't submit or admit people based on their CVs, it's apparent that this snobbery still exists.
100%.
You speak about apprenticeships and all of that stuff, but people typically just want creme de la creme.
Yeah,
and
so
the way that they make sense of that is by saying, as you say, the universities that they look at and the grades that they achieve there. When do you think we're going to move away from that as being the status quo? Because people, I agree with you with what you're alluding to. Companies are essentially losing out on a lot of people because of the way that they view what constitutes a potentially great worker.
I think that stuff's changing.
Yeah.
So we've seen global policy changes by these multinationals like Deloitte and Google and these guys all dropping the need for a university degree for the graduate schemes now, right? So there's obviously the great majority of companies still require you to have degrees and all the rest of it, but you can clearly see the trend is moving away from that, right? So there's, I think 2 of the big 4, basically from the accounting world, don't require a university degree now. For
I didn't know that.
I think Google have also dropped it again for the graduate scheme. If you're going in for an experienced hire role, they may still require it and stuff.
Which is mad, by the way.
But for the bait kind of like traditional graduate entry route, like large companies have started. If you ask me to guess, I'd guess like 15% maybe of the top FTSE 100 companies would have dropped that requirement by now.
Yeah.
So when does it change? When it changes when
So it's changing.
It's changing, but it changes when there's more explicit support for apprenticeship schemes from the government. There's these kinds of policies.
But when did we become so obsessed with the degree stuff? Because
Tony Blair.
You mentioned,
That's the
okay. Maybe that's the answer. Because before that, you'd have loads of stories like Johnny's, right? With people who started even younger, who didn't go to college.
The city is built on people who left Essex at 16
Literally.
and started buying sandwiches and desks.
So when did that change? So you're saying Tony Blair era?
Yeah, and it's like not. This is like an unintended consequence,
Correct.
right? It's not bad. Like his intentions at the beginning weren't a
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
thing. It was like not
Everyone
enough
should
people.
have the chance to go to university.
It's
Which
not
is
enough
a nice
people are
ambition.
going to university.
Yeah.
We need to make it easier for people to get to university.
Yeah.
That was like where they started, and we've got to a point where I guess you can argue the overwhelming success of what they set up, followed by various other governments after them or whatever. The success of this push has led to whatever the number is, 80% of people now trying to get into university. And the question is, have we gone too far is the thing.
So the unintended consequence of sending everyone to university was you basically created a funneled snobbery where only selective universities became desirable. So this happened to me when I was working at a previous bank. I was part of the interviewing process. And it was a 2-page form. You had to spend half an hour reading about the candidate's background, half an hour, 40 minutes interviewing them, and 20 minutes filling out the form afterwards. But in the top right-hand corner of this 2-page form was just the candidate's university.
Wild.
So I went to HR and I said, why have you got that there? And they said, well, it's part of the filtering process, part of the screening. I said, look, don't waste an hour plus of my time getting to know and interviewing a candidate if you're literally just going to tin them because they didn't go to the LSE, or they didn't go to Oxford, they didn't go to Cambridge.
Imperial.
That's
Can you mention Imperial when you talk about these big
Would
universities as well? Can you pay us some respect?
It's a given.
Come on, bro.
Europa League unis, bro.
What do you mean, like, bin them after? So they'd
So
get
the
you to
screening
interview them
process,
first?
they get us to
What's the
interview
point
them
of interviewing them then?
because at least they said they've given it.
Yeah.
They said they've
So
tried.
it's like an equality to equal
So
opportunity.
I went to HR and I said, look, don't waste my time doing this if you're just going to pick people from 3 universities. And they came back and they said some bullshit along the lines of, you should know it's our most diverse training group ever. We have got an exact 50% balance of boys and girls. And I said, all right, so you've somewhat just about matched the genetic makeup of the planet. Mazel tov. That doesn't make you particularly diverse. You're basically doing the bare minimum. I'm sure you've got no data on the backgrounds, the socioeconomic, let alone racial, whatever. I'm not buying the diverse shtick. Don't make me do it. So they actually never asked me to do another interview
I push
again.
back on a lot of stuff that Johnny says about like, oh, the government should do this, the government should do that, and like the answer to the apprentice thing was, oh, maybe the government, blah blah blah. But like this is like also an example of companies trying to adhere essentially and then it falling through. The only reason she came back to you or he came back to you, whoever it was from HR, and said, oh, we got 50-50 guy-girl split, male-female split, is because now these companies in the city have to reveal gender ratio
Yeah.
data, basically. So as a result, that kind of trickles down the hiring and blah, 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 then resulting to a retort like, but we're diverse.
But it's not
we've got
particularly
50-50.
diverse if you've got 50% of boys and girls all from Oxford, Cambridge, and the LSE.
Sure, but the idea is like for them, the diversity for them on a macro, the diversity is essentially a box ticking thing, right? We're
Some boys and some girls.
We're going through this process. We need to have X number of boxes ticked, right? And one of the boxes now that the government is kind of semi-forcing us, and the social media and public pressure is somewhat forcing us, is on this diversity thing. The easiest diversity thing to start off with is this boys and girls thing, so let's just remedy that. So she'll come back to you and say, 50%.
So circling back to what I was asking about, when did this snobbery start, and when do we think that companies are going to start looking at this stuff less? If that is to be the case, and if like companies are already showing signs of not really caring as much about university degrees or institutions that you studied at, do you think that we are now entering an era where the overall attractiveness of a degree is reaching a lower point, or do we think we're going to reach a point where only the most valuable medical related, engineering related degrees are actually worth going to university for, and everything else is just like,
I think I've noticed a change in 10 years. So you remember when we met at the company that we met each other when we were both working, people couldn't really believe that I hadn't gone to university when we started on our first day, almost 9th of Jan 2012, almost 10 years. People couldn't believe, it was like bizarre. This kid stand up and he's not got a degree.
Johnny Vivas, like 17 years old, trying to move to all these like 27-year-old women.
But that's not even the thing.
They're impressed by his chat, but as soon as he drops his age, they're like,
not even that impressed with the chat. But realistically, the mad thing was, it's also a comparative thing, right? So they were also shocked because there'd be people who stand up and he's like, I'm currently just like doing a part-time PhD in mathematics. And then someone else is like, I did a banking and finance master's. Do you know what I mean? So everyone's trying to floss. I went to Bocconi. And all this kind of shit.
Mad Bocconi, bro.
Yeah, so everyone's out there trying to floss, like, this is where I went, this is what I studied. I did banking. And then there was like,
Johnny stands up, he's like, I'm from Hackney Community College.
But then there'll be like half of the class that basically didn't study finance, but still went to like good universities.
Yeah, did biology at Cambridge.
Yeah, so then they'd like sit back on that, basically. Like, okay, fine. I didn't do the finance thing like this brer at LSE or whatever. But I did biology at Cambridge. But then, so it's a comparative thing that made them shocked.
So the point I was making is that 10 years ago, it was very bizarre that I didn't have a degree. But now when I talk to people, now I'm a bit more experienced, I guess. I've got a track record. I've got a career track. People don't ask me about my degree. But if people ask where I study and I tell them I didn't go to university, it's a lot more common to hear people say something like, fucking waste of time.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Nobody said that 10 years ago.
I've got Nigerian parents. That's the only reason why I went uni. I'll be honest. I was not on it.
Why were you not on it?
Because I just felt like my interest in like higher education had peaked after college.
So then what did you want to do? You wanted to like join the workforce or what?
Yeah, I just wanted to figure it out. Wanted to potentially travel, wanted to potentially like do some stuff.
Travel.
And one of them ones, innit? You know, just figure it out. Just figure it out. I had
Did you have that conversation with your parents where you asked for a gap year?
It was a very short conversation.
Did you muster up the courage to have that conversation?
It was probably one of the quickest conversations I ever had with my parents. But then at the time,
you get a job in retail selling clothes.
I just didn't know what I wanted to do, right? Like, I just knew I wanted to work, I wanted to travel, I kind of just wanted to be a little bit free. Because man, like, it goes without saying, anybody who knows Nigerian parents or African parents or whatever know that's just like, it's very, very strict standards of education you have to uphold for all of your life. And that's exhausting. So I got to a point after my college, I got really good after getting good A-levels. So I was just like, all right, cool, I'm a bit tapped out. And I'd obviously applied to like 6 universities, Imperial being one of them. I didn't really look too tough at rankings and stuff like that. But it was
only was your second choice if you didn't go there?
So I applied for Imperial, King's, Royal Holloway, Kingston, Brunel, and God, who's the 6th? I can't remember the 6th, but I got into 5 out of 6. Kings are the ones that rejected me for whatever reason. I was either going to do marketing or business. Okay. Right.
But you know when you ask, are you really, really from the ends? Man went to 5 London unis.
Yeah, it was going to be
Holloway.
Bro, but that's what I'm saying, bro. I was so like not on the idea of going to university. If I was going to have to go, it was going to be close. You know what I mean? I was just wanted it to be as convenient as possible.
Nottingham, that's not
We got sold a dream with Imperial. I had no idea we were going to be off ends.
Oh, you didn't know?
Oh my God, bruv. Like oh my Lord. I didn't go to visit it, right? So I just got in. So the first time I went was when my mum drove me on the day.
drop you off.
So as we were going,
You put it into Tom
Yeah,
Tom,
this ain't
you're
South Kent.
this is not South Kent, literally. Yeah. And I was just like, this is a fucking village. Like, what is going on? Like, but yeah, I didn't want to go and all of that, but it's I don't even know what the point I was making before.
I knew it was a village.
Yeah.
I knew it was a village, but still, like, I think I knew early on that it's just a brand building game. Right?
Yeah.
You're just trying to get into the best university you can, and even
that's it.
what you're studying almost doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's
that's my
secondary.
point, and that was my point, right? Like, I didn't know what I was getting into when I was applying, but what I will say is, I'm so glad that my sister wrung me by the neck and was like, "You're going to Imperial if you've got in," because it probably has set me up in ways that I didn't really see. Unfair or not, it's probably set me up in ways that I didn't really foresee at the time.
You should
But
have
having
foreseen
said that,
it was bait.
yeah, I didn't really look at it that much again because I just wasn't on it. But to Johnny's point, you know, when I do hear stories about people who didn't go to university, I'm like, good on you, man. Like, I get a little bit jealous because I didn't really want to do it myself.
My biggest
But having
flex-
said that,
Don't know about
university,
good on you.
our 3 years at university, were fucking amazing. Like, I met some great people.
But I don't know about good on you though. I think the university thing still has some value. Like the problem is, I was very much on the no value thing, right? Like what you were saying, Johnny. But like realistically, at the same time, you can look. All right, university's gone to $9,000, super expensive. Is it worth it? Rah, rah, rah. But at the same time, if you look at the States and the relative cost there, and the number of people who still attend university,
Mad one.
So I think we haven't reached the top. I think the universities, when they look at this as their business, and they look, can we drive more revenue by increasing tuition fees? The answer, I think, is yes. I think there's still, I think the way they look at it and the way even I look at it, there's still probably capacity for them to raise their fees and still have people attending. That's the issue.
My biggest flex is that I've never had to pay off a student loan. So all of my income was tax-free, baby.
Yeah, but the student loan things are minor. Anyway.
10 grand a year is a mad one. I was the
don't worry
last year of
about
$3 grand a year, and I might have had my arm twisted to turn up at fucking Aberystwyth or Hull or some shit.
We were the first year at $3 grand.
So I was the last. 10 grand a year? No thanks. No trade. I'll go get a job.
But yeah, good talk. Congratulations to everybody who got their grades and stuff.
Mazel tov.
Don't let them tell you that the traditional education system is the only way for you to achieve what you want to
Absolutely not.
achieve.
Fund the
I
University
think,
of
yeah,
Exeter.
exactly. I think that's